There's two ways to do this question. First is just to list all of the times and do that kind of in a really careful way. Second's going to be to use a bit of, permutate theory for permutations, and I'll talk about both. Actually, I think in this question, because there's not that many, although you don't know that at the start, there might be 24. I think the best idea actually is just to list them all. So let's look at all the different ways that we can start with zero. And so we got 0, 1, 2, 9, and we can't have zero. And we know, I suppose we could even write out the other sort of things that could happen, but yeah, that's not allowed. We can't have 192. That's not a time. So I've dealt with all the 0, 1s. And then let's do 0, 2, and that's going to have to be 19. So that's that one done. And then I'm going to have 0, 9, and I'm going to have 1, 2. This time I can have 0, 9, 2, 1 as well. Those are all the different ways that I can start with 0. So next up is going to be to start with 1, and we carry on again. So 1, 0, and then we're going to have 2, 9. And then it's going to be 1, 2, and that's going to have to be 1, 9 in the same sort of way. And then we're going to have 1, 9, and again, there's no restriction. So we'll have 0, 2, and 1, 9, 2, 0. Okay, we're doing well. Let's keep going. So now it's we've looked at zeros, we've looked at ones. Let's look at twos. So two, we can have 2, 0, 1, 9, or we can have 2, 1, and then it's got to be 0, 9. And then we can't have 2, 9. So those are going to be the only options. And I think we found them all. Like there's also not going to be one where 9 is the starting one. So we've got 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10. 10 answers. Okay. That didn't take too long, and I was quite careful as I went along. I just started with all the different numbers, made sure I ruled out some, and I'm left with these. Right, let's just look at the idea of using permutations. So if we're arranging four things, then there's four ways that I can put the first one, three ways the second one, then two, and then one. There's 24 ways of arranging four numbers. But of course, in this case, we're not allowed to have nine in some of the places. But I can still use some ideas. I just have to kind of split it up into different sections. So if I start with 9 at the front, actually that's not allowed. Not going to get any. So basically I'm saying like I can't use this. I'm going to split it up and look at 9 because 9 is the only number that restricts other numbers. So if we put 9 in some places, we can figure it out. So when I put 9 second, right, now how many options are there to go here? We've got 0, 1, and 2, but I'm not allowed to put 2. So let's say I stick the 9 in, and then I have to stick the first number in. I can choose to do it in that order. There's only two options for the first number. And then once I put my first number in, let's say I put a 0 in, there's going to be two options for the third number. So I can times them together. And then after that, there's just going to be one option left. So overall, I'm going to get 4. And if you're not convinced by that, you can actually see that I've got the 4 of them here. Here we go, 9, 9, and 9, 9. That's what I've just calculated. Okay, next up, let's look at 9 in the third position. And actually, that's not allowed either, so it's 0. So I'm only left with 9 in the final position. Right, I've stuck it in. Now, there's actually no restrictions for what I put in the first position. So there's going to be 3 ways I can do it. And then after I've done that, actually there's no restrictions for what goes in the second position. Let's say I stick a 0 there. I can put a 2 or a 1 here. So there's going to be 2 options. But obviously I am then, restricted. Well, there's only one option after that. So there's 6 options here. And what I would do then, just add those two numbers together to give 10. And you can see again, um, here are all the other ways that I can, yeah, 9, there's 6 ways that I can have 9 in the fourth place. So that second method, it's not super effective here because we didn't have that many to write, but perhaps there would be, other numbers or like, I don't know, some sort of question where there were even more arrangements. That method could come into its own then. And it definitely does in other questions where you have to think about all the different arrangements. Okay, good. Answer's 10.